Greetings, citizens of the world. This is an important update from Anonymous about the growing coronavirus pandemic. If you have been following our reports in recent weeks, we have been keeping a close eye on the COVID-19 coronavirus that has now taken the lives of over 2,000 people and infected at least 77,000 others. In our last transmission, we warned about the severity of the illness and the possible unintended consequences of the actions taken by world leaders, as well as the political and economic implications of the largest quarantine in human history. There were some who believed that our warnings were alarmist, but now, just a week after our last message, many of our predictions have become a reality, and people all over the world are finally starting to take notice, and starting to take this threat seriously. In a press conference on Friday, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the World Health Organization, admitted that the virus has now grown out of control, and it could be too late to stop it from spreading.
The WHO-led joint mission in China has been working in Beijing, Sichuan, and Guangdong, and will travel to Wuhan tomorrow to continue its work at the epicenter of the outbreak. We're working with all of partners under goal to safeguard the health of the members of the team and to take appropriate measures when they return to their countries of origin. Although the total number of cases outside China remains relatively small, we're concerned about the number of cases with no clear epidemiological link, such as travel history to China or contact with a confirmed case. Apart from the Diamond Princess cruise ship, the Republic of Korea now has the most cases outside China.
His dismal outlook is due to the fact that cases continue to pop up all over the world, and each time it seems that the virus is even more contagious than experts initially believed. It is important to remember that we are still in the very early stages of this outbreak, and scientists are still trying to learn as much as they can. A flurry of studies have come out about the virus since the outbreak began, but many of them contradict each other and are not peer-reviewed. Even the peer-reviewed studies on this topic are highly controversial, and it appears that different studies are rendering different results. One thing is for certain, this virus is far more contagious and deadly than was initially believed. In the early days of the outbreak, officials in Wuhan assured residents that the possibility of human-to-human transmission was very low. It was believed that the early cases in Wuhan were all linked to infected meat at one of the city's markets. However, when medical workers began to fall ill, and when cases of transmission between humans were reported outside of China, people began to realize that they were dealing with something much more serious. In the days since, we have seen the number of cases skyrocket, both in China and other parts of the world, but this is mainly due to the fact that hospitals are actually testing for the virus now, and the record-keeping has become more organized. In a recent case in Italy, where 50,000 people in dozens of cities have been placed on lockdown, one of the early patients was misdiagnosed numerous times because he was not tested for the virus. Doctors did not test him because he had not recently been to China, and therefore was not considered a high risk. However, he managed to catch the virus somehow, even though he hadn't come into contact with anyone who had traveled overseas in the past few months. This shows that the virus has reached far beyond the point of containment, because infected patients are popping up on the other side of the world, and researchers are unable to trace it back to the epicenter, likely because the web of contact has become so complicated, now that millions of people from the epicenter have come into contact with millions of other people all over the world, who exponentially come into contact with millions of others. Now that the evidence is all around us, people are finally starting to take this risk seriously, but unfortunately, in times of panic, rationality is rarely practiced. In Ukraine, riots broke out when citizens who were evacuated from China were brought home.
Наш санаторій не предназначений для того, щоб їх тут ізолювати. Ми не хочемо стати зоною ізоляції, зоною відчуження. Нам тут жити. Ви розумієте це чи ні? Ми просто не хочемо, щоб тут був новий Ухань.
Я тебе клубок, то, що має поламане.
fake email that claimed to be from the country's Department of Health went out to an untold number of Ukrainian citizens, telling them that the evacuees who were traveling on buses through the country were infected with the virus. While it is unclear if these patients were actually tested, some residents welcomed the evacuees back home by protesting and throwing bricks at their buses before rioting and setting things on fire in the street to create a blockade. Obviously, if these people were actually infected, the most foolish thing to do would be to throw bricks through the window of their contained bus, so these protesters ended up putting themselves in danger with their hysterical response. We are facing a great danger, but as always, cooler heads will prevail. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.